All right, folks. It's hello. It's Thursday, October 25th. It's nearing 6 p.m. This video is long overdue with an explanation, and I also want to show you after the explanation what I did to the inside of the barn for this winter. Okay. Bear with me because I sure as heck don't have time to rehearse these things. Okay. I'm going to have to say it was about 5-6 weeks ago, could have been more, could have been less, that I ended up picking up some bottle calves. I gave you my explanation why and everything else. The bottle calves were inside here, and then due to some problems, they were put outside, and the list goes on and on. Long story short, it did not go well. This happens. It's not my fault. It's not the inside of this barn. It's not the what I'm going to call the supplier's fault. It's just sometimes these things happen. If you're going to raise bottle calves, 98% of you right now watching this understand what I'm saying and want to say. The other 2% of you, you haven't raised enough if you didn't experience some major problems. Long story short, in a very respectful way, I'll say that I got a bad batch. I ended up losing 7 out of the 12. That's not good. That's not good at all. And that was just the beginning. I was actually going to do 24 of them. And then come December 1st, they would have been, I think, 3 months old. I was going to rig up a deal with the stanchions here to raise them that way and then fill up these pens again with another 24, 6, 6, 6, and 6. Or just 4 pens of 5 for that next batch. Didn't go good. And I am, we'll say, man enough to admit to you that I made a little educational mistake. That's the way I'm going to put it. I did not think about that enough. The reason I was going to do this with the bottle calves was to keep this barn semi-warm this winter. That was my easy, we're going to say inexpensive fix. Well, number one, I'm a little ashamed of myself. This usually doesn't happen often. I should have put a lot more thinking into that. There's no way that these little calves were going to provide enough body heat to keep the inside of this barn functional. I will admit to you right now that I made a decision. I made a very fast-paced decision without pondering it enough. I'm going to blame it on time and the rat race that I usually have of going back and forth with work and the drive and come here, get as much done as you can. That'll be my cheap excuse. So, once the downfall of calves started, I said, actually, as crappy as this sounds, I'm a little... I don't know how to say this. I'm not happy it happened, but it made me readjust. Okay, what the heck is going on here, and what are you doing? Well, I ended up scratching that idea. I did ship the last 4 or 5 calves that were good, strong, and healthy. In fact, I believe an avid watcher of this channel, I won't mention no names, you ended up with a couple of them. You got some great calves. Trust me, I'm selling a product. My name is on those tags. I waited a sufficient amount of time after the sickness blew over to make sure that they were good, and I sold them. So, long story short, I made an improper decision. I made it too quick of a decision, and it's scratched. The bottle calves are gone. They've been gone for a while. And there won't be any more coming. So, we still have a problem. Need to keep the barn, need to do something. Well, there's some of you is probably saying, who cares? Shut the barn down, blow out the water lines, and who cares? here's the biggest problem, folks. The water that is supplied to the beef barn and to the heifer steer lot, we're going to start calling it the heifer lot now. The water that is supplied to both of those yards comes from the piping of inside this barn. I know a lot of you are going to say, well, you need to redo things. Well, it's a major undertaking. And at some point in some year, things will have to be redone. Right now is not the time to start thinking about that. Right now is the time for a fix, so that this is somewhat semi-suitable through the winter when we get those 30 below zero wind chill days or worse. Don't think that we haven't gotten 40 below around here. What are we going to do? So, here it is. Some of you are going to like it. Some of you are going to cry bloody murder. But this was my fix. Not only are you seeing insulation, pipe insulation, there's heat tape. I'm a huge believer in heat tape. It works wonders. I've used heat tape. I've used even the junk heat tape for probably 15, 16, 17 years on other things. And it's phenomenal. I bought the good stuff. It basically comes with two sensors on it, one in the beginning, one at the end. I'll show you some. And they turn on at 45, no, they turn on at 38 degrees and shut off at about 45 or 48 degrees. It's something like that. I'm here to tell you it doesn't use hardly any electricity. One of the biggest things that I see coming from this video, and I'm okay with it, is the scare and the threat of warmed up electrical lines in a barn where there's hay and all that other stuff. Folks, you got to believe in something once in a while. I do believe in the heat tape because it's never failed me before. In all my years of using it on some underhouse piping and stuff like that, it's the only thing that saved my butt all those years. So, what I did, this pipe right here comes from the underground that's shot all the way from the house. Yes, the house water and house pump feeds this barn. It is what it is. So, I started here. There's a sensor right there. You can probably see it. This has all been, for the most part, insulated and heat tape. And it goes to here, wraps around, comes down. You can see it there. I'm not too concerned about getting insulation around this piping here. Plus, I'd have to do a little bit of dismantling and everything. I'm just not prepared to do that. I don't think it needs to be done. That ends right there. There's the other one that's in this conglomeration that that heads down to that place. I don't have the words. The reason it keeps heading down there is because that corner of the barn then shoots underground. That's what feeds the heifer lot. Now I ran another string of it. Actually, where we're going, the end stops here. This is a very bad weak point. This will freeze in a second. So I think I did this. I think I spent enough time and properness on this. This is going to work. All the way along here. Excuse me. Follows it down. And this is what the beginning of this heat tape looks like. And that is another sensor right there. Folks, I know, I don't like this either. We're dealing with electrical cords and everything else inside of a barn, but whatever. What are you going to do? I mean, I get a bunch of Modines, get a whole bunch of Mr. Buddy heaters, some salamanders, and run them. As far as I'm concerned, that's a hell of a lot more dangerous. So this is what I come up with. And then there is another string that follows that line, not all the way down, It actually stops there. And I've tested this stuff. It just works wonderfully. That stops there. Well, this goes underground and heads to the beef barn. Kind of important, folks. So what I did is, and I know I'm all over the place here, folks. I'm not great at explaining stuff. Unless I'm mad, then I'm pretty good, I think. Okay, so then there's another one that's here because there's a very convenient plug in there that follows all that. And actually that one stops here. Here's the other sensor. So, agree with it or not, that's the fix to continue water source in these yards. It's the way it has to be. And yeah, so lessons learned. Take 2 seconds, think about things just a little further, and learned a lesson. Now, to be honest with you, this barn is not going to be empty this winter. For the 25th time, I'll say that breeding season last year was a disaster. Therefore, we have a whole handful of late calves this year. In fact, the latest one and the last one was born just 3.5, 4 weeks ago, something like that. There's about 7 or 8 or 9 calves that are young enough. They're not going to make the weaning process. We're not going to wean them off. What are we going to do? I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. Weaning process for us is going to take place probably the first week of December. The majority of the calves can be weaned off. Lots of them are getting shipped. Some of them are staying, including 5 heifers that I picked out that are staying here on the farm. 5 heifers in mind to be bred 3rd week of July, August 1st of next year. The rest are, there's some being shipped, and then there's some that have to be kept. There's also some being kept to put in the steer yard and feeding them out, so to speak, until spring sales. That being said, there's going to be about 7, 8, maybe even 9 animals, younger calves, that are going to be in this barn this winter. I'm going to probably say somewhere around January, 1st, 2nd, 3rd week of January, something like that. Not to mention we have a bull out there. One of the first, was it the first? One of the first 3 bull calves that was born this past spring in an appropriate time did not get banded. Obviously, we're keeping it for a bull. Well, that big guy's home is probably going to be, it's probably going to be this pen right here. And of course, we'll throw another one. We'll throw a steer in there with it as well. We'll see how things go. And the other pens that you've seen over there, the 4 pens, they will be abiding other animals. This piping system, we are not prepared to keep warm and thawed out because, folks, this is the immediate west end of the farm. And the west winds that we get here are just absolutely horrid. It doesn't matter if there's 30, 35 full grown huge Holsteins in here. The barn's nice and warm. It's beautiful. It doesn't matter. This always freezes right here. This going down to that water cup, this one to that water cup, and these as well. So what we are going to do is we're going to cut off the lines, so to speak. Here somewhere, we are going to get them, we're going to blow them out. And then quite simply and a little inconveniently, fresh water from the milk house which is kept warm with a very nice propane heater, one of those wall-mounted ordeals. Fresh water is going to have to be given to these animals in these pens twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. We'll see. But that's the science behind that. If that made any sense, and that's also the reason why I have veered away from making any videos about those calves. Folks, that was not a very pleasant ordeal. It isn't for anybody that's raising animals to lose calves. I was not in the mood. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so therefore I didn't want to really make a video and talk about it. It was not an appealing topic for me. Let's all just be thankful that, especially me, let's be thankful I only started out with 12. I'm here to tell you if there's 24 or 36 available that day, I would have brought them all home. And I would have had a bigger financial disaster, probably. There's nothing telling me that I went to lost 75% of them. It just happens. It happens. And I don't want to see any comments about blasting that farm. I did a real nice tour of that farm when I was there. They're great people, the hardest working people you've ever seen. Great, nice, big operation. Clean as a whistle. It just happens. So, yeah, apologies for avoiding the questions about the bottle calves. It just was a sore subject for me. It's not anymore. Now it's something to learn by. Especially the decision I made for the inside of this barn for the winter. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a ghost town in here. It's not the cleanest. But whatever, it's going to get cleaned out here pretty quick. Because before too long, there's going to be a little business happening in here. And we'll go from there. All right, that's about all I got, folks. I'm going to take you with me outside here and share an even crappier story with you. Today could have and should have probably ended up a lot worse than what it should have, than it did. We had the vet over here for some pregnancy checks. There was 3 animals in question. As it turns out, they're all knocked up. So that's great. Well, here's the deal. I had another animal out there that we had caught that I picked up this past spring. Wild as a frickin' you-know-what. That I couldn't do anything with, let alone tag, this past spring. It broke through the fence in a fit of rage. Anyway, we finally got her in the headlock. Ended up changing the tag on it. Took the old tag out, put my tag on it. For verification and paperwork reasons, folks. I believe in that. Well, she's been out in that cow yard all spring, summer, and the beginning of this fall. She's not of age to be bred. It's just a little too young as far as I'm concerned. But as long as the vet was there and it was in the headlock, it'd take 3 minutes. Hey, did she get bred? She didn't. The vet, very good vet, confirmed that she did not. Well, we open up the headlock to let it out, and I'm here to tell you all hell broke loose. That heifer came after me. It came after Dad. I'm here. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. And it went after the vet. This day could have been a pretty bad disaster. We've never seen anything like it. Never. That was the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst that has ever happened here. That animal has to go. I hate it too because it's a beautiful heifer, but it doesn't matter. It's got to go. What am I going to do with it? I don't know. I don't even think I'll ship that crazy son of a gun to a sale, to a barn. My tag, my name's on it. It'd be an absolute embarrassment. It needs to go live in a feedlot somewhere. I just got to figure out how I got to do it, but it's got to go. It's got to get the heck out of here. But it was a pretty bad ordeal. This day could have been a hell of a lot worse. A hell of a lot worse, but it's not. So you gotta, I guess you gotta kind of reflect on that. I know that. Yeah, other than that, I finished up spreading the sand. That's all spread out, that's done, and I had a nice little hay sale today. And that's about it, folks. So all right, I see this video is almost at 21 minutes. That's the explanation. Once again, I do apologize. And yeah, I do feel like I have to apologize. A lot of you check out this channel, you're kind of following what I'm doing, which I'm very, very happy and proud of. And I veered away from any of those questions and making any videos because it was sour with me. Now I'm willing to talk about it and tell you what's going on, what happened, and the little project that I had here in the barn to keep things alive and well for this winter. So that's about it. Folks, I got to get going. I got to tie up a couple of loose ends here before it gets dark, because boy, it gets dark pretty quick around here. Just imagine when we change our clocks here. But hope everybody's doing okay. Stay tuned to a possible plowing video tomorrow. I did break the plow. I'll get into that tomorrow, and whatever else we can come up with. But I hope everybody's doing okay, and have a good night. Talk to you sooner than later.